Do 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 ba 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 na na ba 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 da na ba. Hey guys, welcome to the Tearing It Up podcast. That is so silly. I'm your host, Taryn Lamb, and that is my intro jingle. Ooh, welcome to the Tearing It Up podcast. And I know what you're thinking. Taryn, you started a podcast? Wow, you're doing something extraordinary. You're doing something no one's ever done before. We don't know anyone who has gained a little bit of a social media following and then started a podcast. Like, who? You're paving the way. I'm a trailblazer. I know, guys. It's crazy. I'm doing something totally insane. I'm just kidding. Yes, of course I started a podcast, guys. Who these days isn't starting a podcast? Am I right? Well, it was finally my turn because I decided if I want to start a podcast, I can. Like, I can literally do whatever I want. And that's what's really cool. Is like, I just woke up one morning and I was like, I'm kind of feeling like starting a podcast today. So that's exactly what I did. And now I'm sitting in this room of this podcast studio owned by my great friend, Allie. It's called YA Studio. Yeah, Studio. I think it's YA Studio. And I'm recording a podcast, and I'm not gonna lie, I usually am always like in the comfort of my own home when I'm making content or whatnot. So it's kind of weird for me to be like sitting here talking to nothing in like a space that I'm not typically comfortable in. So it feels a little bit weird. And this is the second time that I'm recording this episode because I came in here last week and recorded the first episode and I left and I was like, I hated that. And why? It was because I was quite nervous. I really shouldn't have been nervous because the whole point of this podcast is to just be fun. It's just to shoot the shit. It's so not supposed to be a formal type of podcast that I should feel nervous for. That isn't the vibe that I want with this. Like, we're just having fun here. It's nothing serious. So when I left, I was like, I really didn't like that because I felt like I was overthinking it so much because I'm the biggest overthinker. And the whole thing I just didn't feel comfortable with. I was like, I just didn't like that. That was not me. So I was like, I have to re-record this shit. So take two, and this one's going to be a good one. This one's going to be the one because now I actually feel ready to come into this and talk about what I want to talk about. Whereas last week I just winged it and I left and I was like, what the hell did I just say for an hour? So welcome to the Tearing It Up podcast, guys. I'm your host, Taryn Lamb. And you're probably like, okay, Taryn, that's kind of a corny little funny name. Like, LOL, Tearing It Up. Like, okay. And why did I choose that? Honestly, I don't really know. I always said, like, if I ever start a podcast, I'm going to call it Tearing It Up. Like, I just think that's funny. And I thought that, in the future, I can start every episode being like, here's what we're tearing up today. Today, we're tearing up traveling in your 20s. Today, we're tearing up getting a job post-grad. Today, we're tearing up relationships. Today, we're tearing up moving away from your hometown. Today, we're tearing up career shit. Today, we're tearing up beauty shit, whatever. I'm just literally going to talk about whatever the fuck I want to talk about that day. And a lot of the time I'll be alone, but I also will have guests, of course. I'm going to have guests, right? Probably my first guest will be my boyfriend, Rafa, because I just think that it'll be really fun to record with him. So that'll probably be my second or third episode. But before we get started with today's episode, and what I want to talk about on today's episode is actually kind of a little career update, because I know some of y'all are wondering, what am I doing with my career? Last we heard you were working in marketing in your 9-to-5. Like, what are you doing? What's going on? So we're going to get into all of those updates. But first, I want to give y'all a little intro to myself, an intro to the podcast, and what have you, because, well, I assume most of the people listening to this are probably people that already know me from TikTok or Instagram or YouTube or whatever social media channel they might follow me on. There also could be some new people here. So we got to do a little intro. It's so weird because like I can hear myself breathe in these headphones and it's kind of unsettling. Hold on, I need a sip of water. When I was all nervous and tweaking out when the first time I recorded this and I felt like, oh my God, I just didn't feel good about it. It really threw my whole week off because I felt like so confident starting this. I was like, this is going to be so fun. It's going to be easy. Like, I can't wait. I'm just going to sit down and talk. Like, it's going to be a walk in the park. And then it wasn't. And it was like, I got humbled last week because I sat down and I was like, I was so nervous and I just didn't feel confident in my words. I didn't feel confident in myself. Like, I was like, what am I doing? And I just got slapped in the face with like, and it was a good reality check that I needed, I think, because I was like, oh, this is gonna be so fun and easy. Like, who cares? Oh my God, blah, blah. But then I sat down and I was like, damn, this is actually like a little bit scarier and harder than I thought. And it is a weird skill to just sit down and talk to nothing and still be entertaining. I just got humbled, truly. And when I talked to Rafa about it, because I was like, dude, this sucks. Like, I don't even think I can do this. Like, I was having so much self-doubt because I just felt like I couldn't do it. As dumb as it sounds, like, I know it sounds easy to just sit down and talk because it is, but at the same time, I don't know. I just started overthinking it so much. And that's not something I normally do with like my social media content. So I was just like, why do I feel this way? And Rafa said to me, he was like, Taryn, you're taking the fun out of what this is supposed to be. It's supposed to be fun. It's supposed to be just like a laid back chat. And you're making it something that it's not. And you're the reason that it's not turning out the way you want it to be because you're just overthinking it and you're taking all the fun out of it. And I was like, you're so right. This is supposed to be fun. I shouldn't be nervous about this shit. I shouldn't be tweaking about this shit because at the end of the day, it's just a silly little podcast that I'm doing for fun. I felt like it would be a good way for y'all to have another extension of me off of the social channels that I do. If you follow me on there, if you don't, but just a deeper relationship with me and more of an extension where we can get to know each other. I don't feel like I always share everything on my TikTok or Instagram. So I thought this could be the place for me to do it because it just feels in a way a little bit more comfortable for me to sit down and talk about certain things that I might not feel as comfortable posting on TikTok, especially because I only have 10 minutes on TikTok you only have 10 minutes to make a video. Whereas here I have like a whole hour, so we can yap about anything we want. And I've gotten a good amount of questions on TikTok about different topics between like relationship stuff or career things or things that making friends or whatever it might be. And I'm like, I feel like a podcast would be really good for me to sit down and actually share my thoughts on these things versus me making a little quick video on TikTok about it, which I will still do, but I just wanted y'all to have an extension of me where we can just sit and chat like friends. We're just sitting and chatting like friends. That's all, right? We're going to talk about all different topics on this podcast, whether it's making friends in your 20s, relationship stuff, boyfriend stuff, breakup stuff, friend things, beauty things, traveling. I don't even know. I'm just going to go off. We're going to talk about moving away from my hometown and the process of moving and making new friends and starting over, ADHD. But there's also just going to be days where I just want to sit down and yap about fucking nothing. And it'll be that too. So I want y'all to know if you're signing up for this podcast, there's really no niche here. There's no one topic. It's just going to be a little bit of everything. I think we're going to have a lot of fun. I really do. And I'm looking forward to having Rafa on the pod. I'm looking forward to having some friends on the pod, maybe some other content creators. We'll see. So that's a little intro to the Tearing It Up podcast. We'll probably be tearing up different topics every week. I don't know if I'm going to release an episode every single week yet. I'll probably do bi-weekly to start. But I also think I'm just going to release episodes when I want to release episodes. I don't think I'm going to have like a strict schedule with myself because the second I put strict schedules on myself, it doesn't become fun. It takes the fun away when I'm like, I have to do this. I have to do this. Like, I just want to keep this lighthearted and fun. And if I put timelines on myself, I'm just going to get stressed out. Now, quick intro to me. Okay. Let's talk about me for a second. Oh, guys. Okay. Well, why is it like when you do like a Q&A or an interview, the hardest question out of all of them is like, tell me a little bit about yourself. Like, why is that the hardest question for me to answer? I'm like, that question is so hard for me to answer. But we're going to answer it right now. I'll make this quick because we have a lot to get into today with my little career update. All right. Well, my name is Taryn Lamb, Taryn Diane Lamb. My middle name is Diane. It's my grandmother's name. I'm 25 years old. I'm from Portland, Oregon, but I'm from the suburbs of Portland, Oregon, because you know when you're like from a city, but you're not like from the city, you're from like a suburb, but like you can't say the suburb because no one's going to know what the fuck you're talking about. So I say I'm from Portland, Oregon, but really I'm from like 25 minutes outside of Portland, Oregon. I'm from like a fairly small town, very suburban town. And I grew up there. I went to college in Oregon. I went to the University of Oregon, go Ducks. And I studied advertising at the University of Oregon. I was in a sorority. I was in Chi Omega, go Chi O. I made my best friends at the University of Oregon, and I graduated in March of 2021. I graduated just a few months early during COVID. COVID hit in my junior year of college, like the spring of my junior year in college, and then pretty much my whole senior year was in COVID and pretty much online. I graduated online. I really was robbed of a year and a half of college. So that sucked because I loved college and I had so much fun and it was really some of the best years of my life. And I only got like 2 3/4 of a year of the true college experience. But I also feel for anybody who had to like graduate high school during COVID because that would have sucked too. But graduating college during COVID sucked. It really did. But to get over this, and COVID was just like a really rough time for me mentally. And the way that I got over the fact that I was just living in my parents' house, going to online school, not sure what I wanted to do with my life at the time, was I'm going to start looking for jobs to move. Like that was all I could think about, was like, okay, I've just been sitting here in my parents' house for over a year. I'm so bored. I've been in Oregon my whole life. Like I need to get out. And that's when I started searching for jobs in Austin, Texas. I had heard really good things about Austin and people were not lying. I moved here sight unseen. I got my first job at a small marketing agency in Austin, and I moved here. I'd never been to Austin, got on the plane, landed, and I was like, oh, hey, okay, this is, I guess, the new city I'm living in. Like I'd never been here before, but I fell in love with it. And yeah, I started working my first job at a marketing agency. I was working in like client services, account management type of stuff. I was also dabbling in like the paid media world and running some like ad campaigns and stuff like that. And I moved here at the time with an ex-boyfriend. We moved here together. We moved in together. We were both living in a small, like 600 square foot apartment together, which at the time before, when I signed that lease, I was like, oh, it'll be fun, 1-bedroom apartment. But then when you actually live with someone in 600 square feet, you're like, holy shit, like this is tight. However, it was an experience that I learned a lot from. So I'm very grateful for it. So we moved here together and I was working in my marketing job. That is where I made my first friends in Austin, was at work. And for anyone who's just moved to a city and looking to make friends, I feel like the best place to do it is at work because you're seeing these people every single day. And I'm the type of person that will like just start chatting it up with my coworkers and like probably share a little bit too much about my life. And that's, I feel like, how I've made friends at work. I'm like definitely not the type of person that like keeps work. You can probably tell by the fact that I am dating my coworker. Yeah, so that might be a little bit problematic in the workspace, but I really like to make friends at work. And that's where I met my 2 first friends in Austin. We're still on my intro. And now for some reason, I'm getting into like a whole story time. Back to the intro. I'm 25. I'm a Libra. My birthday is October 12th, 1998. We'll get back into my career path and Austin stuff in a second, but I just want to finish up my intro because I just got completely off topic. I'm a Libra with a Cancer moon and I think a Scorpio rising. I don't even know, but in case anyone cares about that. I have 2 cats named Cowboy and Whiskey that I adopted a few months after I moved to Austin. I adopted Cowboy first from the Austin Humane Society, and then I adopted Whiskey second from Austin Animal Center. Cowboy was an adult cat when I got him. His name was Rocky Raccoon. I changed it to Cowboy. I always wanted a cat named Cowboy, so I just like knew that was going to be his name. I think he was 2.5 when I got him, and then I adopted Whiskey as a kitten, and I named him Whiskey just because I thought it went with Cowboy, and like it was very like Texas vibes. And since the cats were from Texas, I wanted them to have more like Southern names. So like I said, when I first moved here, I was living with a boyfriend at the time. Obviously not anymore. We ended things about a year after moving here, I believe. I now live alone in a 1-bedroom apartment with the 2 cats. I don't live with my now current boyfriend, Rafa, but maybe someday we will. We'll see. I don't know. We're really just enjoying our time living apart because there is something really fun about just like the feeling of just dating and like seeing him when I haven't seen him in a while because we don't live together. Like it's just like that fun excitement. And I learned definitely a lot of lessons like moving in with a guy pretty quickly and like how that changed the relationship dynamic. And I'm just like, dude, I have all the time in the world to live with a man. I have my whole life to live with a man. So like, I should just enjoy this time alone in my apartment right now at 25 years old. And I really am. Not to say that we won't live together though, because we probably will, maybe later this year. We'll see. I have 3 siblings, 2 older brothers and an older sister. All of my siblings live in Oregon, including my parents, except one brother who lives here. We actually live in the same apartment complex, which is nice. So I have my brother very close by. And our mom actually is getting to Austin tonight. She lands tonight. So we're really excited to see her. My brother hasn't seen her since Christmas. I saw her like maybe a little over a month ago when I went to Oregon, but she's going to be here for the next week for Mother's Day. I'm going to take her to get a massage. We're going to go out for dinner. I got her some Mother's Day gifts. I'm really excited to see her. So that's going to be really fun. Anyways, that's a little bit about me, y'all. Last thing I'll touch on is that in the last year-ish, I really started doing social media and growing on social media, and it all happened very fast, and it's all feels very weird and new to me still, but you might know me from TikTok or from Instagram. I also have YouTube, but you probably know me from TikTok since that's kind of my biggest platform. And yeah, I kind of shoot the shit on the internet, and I vlog, I make content with my boyfriend, I make content with my cats. I just kind of post whatever the hell I want. I don't really have a niche. I just like sharing my life and sharing my thoughts. And I've grown a weird little following, not weird, but I've grown a little following from that I am so grateful for. And it's given me the confidence to even do this in the first place. So I really owe it all to y'all for giving me the confidence to even start a podcast, because I never thought I would do this. Like if you told me 3 years ago that I was going to make a podcast, I would have been like, what are you talking about? If you even told me 3 years ago that I was going to be posting on TikTok consistently, I would have been like, you're lying. Yeah. And this is all very new to me. I really only started sharing my life and sharing things on social media a little over a year ago when I started training for a half marathon. I always had TikTok and Instagram and everything. And of course I would post and stuff, but I never like took it seriously or did it as a platform or like did it to like build a following and like grow a community. I never did that up until about a year ago when I really started being like, oh my God, wait, this is fun. And I'm having so much fun and I just want to keep doing it. And it was something that I just started doing for fun. And then it grew into something that now I feel like I have this little tiny community of people and it's so, so fun. And I love sharing my life. So yeah, I guess you could call me a little social media content creator as well. That's also a big part of my life is social media, but we can get into that on another episode. And if you guys follow me and you're listening to this, I love you. Thank you for listening. One big forehead kiss to you. All right. I think it's time to divert here and get into my life updates. The life updates that I know y'all want to hear. The life updates that you might be curious about. You might have commented on one of my videos and been like, Taryn, what's going on? And I haven't responded yet. Well, the reason I haven't said anything is because I wanted to wait to share these updates on the podcast. I thought it would be a great first topic to cover on my first episode, because a good chunk of my content in the past has been about work stuff, career stuff, that I feel like this was the right place to give you guys an update on what I'm doing. So I know what you're thinking. Taryn, are you a full-time influencer? Are you a full-time social media now? Did you quit your 9 to 5? Do you just do brand deals now and nothing else? What's going on? Guys, the answer is no. I am not a full-time content creator or full-time influencer. You might be thinking that because you haven't seen much 9 to 5 or vlog content like what I used to do recently, but I want to give you all an update on what I'm doing and what's up, because it's about time and it's a little overdue, but it's taken me a long time to figure out what I'm doing with my life, process it, and then figure out how I want to go about talking about it. So thank you for being patient with me. But before we get into the update, I do have to give you just a little bit of a backstory and a background on like what my career has looked like to this point, so that if anyone is new here, or if you aren't really familiar with what exactly my career histories looked like, you can kind of understand it. And this is where on the last recording that I did, I hated it because I felt like I just went on tangents about like every single job I've had that were just unnecessary tangents with unnecessary context. And I was like, no one gives a shit, Taryn, just keep moving. So we're going to try to keep this a more of a short backstory, whereas on the last recording, it was a goddamn long backstory. So y'all know what my career histories look like to this point. I'm not going to go into the jobs I had in high school. That will have to be another episode, because I definitely had some odd jobs and some funny jobs in high school, but those do not apply right now to this story. Okay, I have to take y'all back to college really quick though, just to give you kind of the context of my skill set and kind of where I started out. So I studied advertising at the University of Oregon. I had a handful of internships in college. I interned at Nickelodeon in like media planning, Viacom CBS. I was on the advertising team where our client was Tinder and did like media planning stuff with Tinder in mind. I interned in talent management at like a talent management company. I had a handful of different internships in college to kind of diversify my skill set. And oh my God, the talent management one was unpaid and it sucked. Anyways, so I came out of college with a little bit of work experience, especially within like the advertising and marketing space. Like I said, I got my first job at that marketing agency in Austin, Texas. And so I worked there for a while, I think almost a year. I was doing client management, account management type of things. I did a little bit of like media planning, paid media stuff. So like running advertising campaigns for clients. This agency specifically worked with like very small businesses. So I was working with like your local roofing company, your local HVAC company, your local massage therapy company. Like I was working with very like local businesses in Austin. It was really cool. And I learned a lot and I met my best friends there. However, I started to feel very lost at the end of that job and feeling like, oh, I don't know if this is for me. I don't know if this is what I want to do. I think I need to try something new. And I've always been the type of person that when I start to feel a certain way about something and I feel like it's not right, like I just have to, like, I can't get that thought out of my head. Like I can't push it away. Like I have to go try something else. And that's what I did. I left that job with no other job lined up because I was like, this doesn't feel right. And I really wasn't happy towards the end, even though at the beginning I really was. And I learned so much in that job. And I'm so thankful for that job because honestly, it taught me so many skills in the beginning of my career. Because I feel like working at an agency, if you're within like the marketing and advertising space, is the best because you just learn so many different skill sets because it's an agency. They're doing a bit of everything. So you get to really learn about all the different aspects of marketing rather than just learning about one. And I think being in that like client management role was great because I really like oversaw everything that was happening for clients. And I just got to learn so much about all the different moving parts of advertising. So it really was a great job. But at the time I was like, I don't know if this is for me. I think I want to transition. I had a lot of friends at the time who worked at Oracle. And I was like, you know what? I think I want to do sales. I think I'm going to be more incentivized and more passionate if I have like a sales goal in my life because I didn't have that at the agency. And because I've always been very driven in making money. Like I've always been driven by the opportunity to make money. And I thought if they put a sales goal in front of me, I'm going to be more driven and more motivated because I was just like feeling like I was lacking motivation at the agency. So I leave the agency job, no job lined up, and I'm interviewing at Oracle NetSuite. It's like a subsidiary of Oracle. And I had a referral there from a friend, thank God. So I did get the interview. I will have to talk about that interview process on another episode because that was the most cutthroat, insane interview process I have ever been through in my life. Actually, you know what? I just got to brush over it right now. I won't go into the details, but I'm interviewing guys virtually at the time because it was still kind of COVID at this point. And it's like a huge group interview with like 30 people that are interviewing because when Oracle hires, they hire in like massive like cohorts where it's like 150 people all in the same role as BDRs, a business development representative, which is like you're doing cold calling and you're like qualifying clients and you're doing like that first initial touch of what the sales process is. So it's like a huge interview of a bunch of people. And, you know, we're all going around introducing ourselves, what have you. And then they're like, okay, now next portion of the interview is going to be a breakout room where you and like 3 other people are going to work on this little project assignment together. But one of the managers is going to be in the breakout room with you with his camera off, listening to how you guys work together, like how you collaborate. I was like, all right. I was like, oh, this is kind of nerve wracking because like, I don't know these people that I'm about to be put in a breakout room with, but I got this, whatever. So we go in the breakout room. It's like me and 3 other people. And then one of the managers who at the time went on to actually be my manager at Oracle is in this breakout room with his camera off listening. We do this little project, blah, 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 blah. He's listening. And then he goes, all right, I'm going to ask you guys all some questions. And he's asking everybody questions like, oh, what did you think this person did well today? What could you have done better? Blah, blah, blah. And finally, it's my turn. I'm the last person to get a question. He goes, Taryn, my last question is for you. And he goes, you have to eliminate one person right now from this interview process today. And that person will not continue with the interview process at Oracle. You have to eliminate them. You have to tell me who you think didn't do the best out of all of these people in this breakout room right now. And they're not going to move forward today. And guys, I have never in my life been put on the spot like that. I shit my pants. I was like, huh? First off, I don't love confrontation. I'm a Libra. I am not a confrontation type of girl. This was like my worst fucking nightmare. I'm shaking, I'm sweating, and I'm like looking at all these innocent faces in this Zoom breakout room of all that are just people just like me trying to get a freaking job. And I have to eliminate someone. Guys, this like broke my heart. And so I'm like, I'm like a little nervous, like 22-year-old tweaking. I'm like, I don't know. I mean, everyone did great. Like, and I'm just like, you know, stumbling over my words. And I ended up having to eliminate one of the people in the breakout room that I guess I did feel like contributed the least to the little project that we did. And I was really nice about it. And I felt so bad about it. But that was just so weird. Like I should have taken that as the first red flag in this job, like that they are making me eliminate someone during the interview process. Like that's not my job. Like I'm just trying to get a sales job here. It was really brutal. I was like, do I have to do this? Like, do I have to eliminate someone? And he was like, yes, you have to eliminate someone. Like I had no way out of that. It was really bad. Anyways, moving on. I get the job at Oracle after an interview process and I start working there. And you know, I'm cold calling, I'm qualifying sales, I'm qualifying clients, you know, like basically my day-to-day is calling people and being like, trying to sell them accounting software, Won't go into all the details of that because it's fucking boring. And in the other recording I did, and I was like, nobody gives a shit. But yeah, you get the point. I was cold calling and trying to sell people shit. Everyone here has gotten a cold call. You know the vibes. And in a weird way, I liked it because when I would get someone to agree and move forward with the next steps, like it gave me this like big sense of accomplishment. But that happened very rarely. And all the other times I was like miserable, just getting like so much rejection. And it just sucked. It did feel hard because, you know, these people that I was calling had already been called a bunch of times and already knew about the services. Then they did not want to give me the time of day. And I even felt like I barely even knew what I was talking about because I was like 22 and I had just learned what this software was in like a 3-week onboarding cohort session thing. And yeah, it sucked. I didn't like it very much. I got to be real with you. At the end of the day, I was like, this job is not for me. I don't think I want to do sales. Like, I don't think software sales is what I want to do. I was like, maybe I do still want to do sales, but not software sales and not like this. And I think I felt like such a small fish in a big pond because there was like 150 people doing the exact same role as me. And like, I didn't feel like I had any opportunity to stand out. And when I feel that way, I just get really demotivated. Like, I want to be able to feel like I can like stand out and work hard. And I just felt like a really small fish in a big pond, truly. But it's like the heavens, God, whoever was just listening to me during this time in my life, because then I get recruited to TikTok while I'm working at Oracle. I get a LinkedIn DM recruiting me to TikTok and I just could not freaking believe it. I thought it was a joke, like someone was pranking me. I was like, how? Like, I had applied to TikTok a handful of times, never heard anything back. And for some reason, I'm getting recruited to come work there. I just truly couldn't believe my eyes. I was in Costa Rica with my family at the time on a vacation. I cried. I was like, Dad, how is this real? Like, it was just crazy. But then again, it was just a message. I hadn't gotten the job yet. But nothing was going to stop me from getting this job. I didn't care if I had to stay up all night practicing what I was going to say, going over the questions that I thought they were going to ask me, perfecting my intro. I was going to get this job, whether hell froze over. Like, I was determined. And I did. I worked really hard the next few weeks preparing for all of these interviews. I think I went through 4 or 5 interviews, trying to learn everything that I could about the company, about TikTok advertising, about brands on TikTok. Like, I was just studying my damn flashcards, and I get the job. When they called me and told me that I got the job, that was one of the happiest like moments of my life. I cried. Yeah, I don't know. It's really bittersweet thinking about the whole thing because it felt like my dreams came true like at 23, my career dreams, because when I graduated college, I never in a million years thought I would work for a platform like TikTok. And at the time I loved TikTok. I used it and I was like, this is so cool. I worked there. And yeah, I went to work for TikTok. I was an account manager on the SMB team, which basically means that I was working with brands that were small to medium businesses and helping them advertise on the platform. So helping them run ad campaigns, helping them plan their ad campaigns, optimize their ad campaigns. And if you don't know kind of what all this means, if you're not within this space, it's like helping them plan how much budget they're going to spend on TikTok and helping them scale that budget efficiently, helping them figure out what creatives are going to work best, helping them figure out how to measure performance on TikTok, how to reach new audiences on TikTok, all of that kind of stuff. And I know when you see ads on TikTok, you probably a lot of the time just scroll past them. There's a lot that goes into ad placements that you don't see behind the scenes, whether it's like targeting or bidding or budget or different parameters that you can set to have that ad actually reach you when you're in the For You page. So there's a lot that goes into it. It's similar to kind of how you set up advertising on Meta or Instagram and Facebook. And that's what I was doing at TikTok for a little under 2 years. I met my boyfriend at TikTok, my boyfriend Rafa. He and I were on the same team when I started. But once we started dating, we were no longer on the same team. We'll get into that, how we met at TikTok and stuff like that when he joins the pod. So I won't get into all of that right now, but I met my boyfriend at TikTok. I met some of my best friends at TikTok. I became super close with my manager. My brother started working at TikTok. Like it was truly my whole life. Like it felt like, I guess like how much high school is a part of your life when you're in high school. That's what having this job at TikTok felt to me. I went to it every single day and I had close friends there. I had my boyfriend there, even though Rafa and I really tried to keep our relationship separate from work. We didn't converse a whole ton at work. We really kept that separate. Yeah, it was a huge part of my life and I learned so much in this job and I'm so incredibly grateful for it. I got to work with hundreds of different brands in all industries, from gaming to fashion to beauty to skincare to home and living to apps, what have you. I really got to work with a bunch of different brands in a bunch of different industries, and I learned a ton. However, and keep in mind, when I first started at TikTok, we were remote, and then we kind of had like a flexible return to office schedule where we could go in a few times a week, but it wasn't mandatory. And then they kind of rolled out mandatory, but it was still a little bit flexible. Like, you know, if you had to go travel that week to see your family, you could work from home. And they were really flexible with us. And I really appreciated that because I did like being in the office. It was cool to see my friends and everyone every day. But at the same time, I really appreciated the flexibility because things would come up in my life. Like, let's say I had to go home to see my parents or something. There was somewhere that I needed to be. It was really nice that I could have that flexibility of working from home. But then they rolled out strict RTO 3 days a week, no exceptions. You have to be in office. And that was a big adjustment for me because keep in mind, y'all, I graduated college in COVID. So I really only ever knew a remote/flexible workplace. Like, I'd never been in an office full-time or like mandatory because every job I'd had was pretty flexible with that kind of thing because it was COVID. And I definitely entered the workforce at a very different time than many people have. But that's just what I was used to. And that's how my brain had programmed itself to work. Like, I just got really good at working from home, and I have ADHD. So I felt really productive working from home. And then when this strict office schedule came into place, I was like, whoa, what's happening? And at this time, when this strict RTO goes into place, which is maybe about a year into working there, I have also been prioritizing social media a lot and doing social media. And I've been growing on social media, and it's become a big part of my life. And while we were remote, I really had the flexibility of being able to do social media and edit videos and post and engage with you guys, but also work. And I loved that. Like, I felt like I could do both on a healthy schedule. And I was so grateful for that. But once we went back to office, I just started to completely lose all of my productivity because I would go to the office all day and then I would get home and I was so exhausted, and I lost all my ambition and drive for social media. And it just became really hard to prioritize both because both mattered to me so much. Of course, I love doing social media. I love creating content, but I found when I was in the office all day and a big part of my week, I was just really drained afterwards because as much fun as it was seeing everyone with me with ADHD, it was just very overstimulating, and it was hard for me to get things done. And I would just feel whoa, all of my social batteries drained at the end of the day. And it made me start to not love my job like I used to. And I know that sounds stupid because it's just going into an office, but I started to feel like I just wasn't able to prioritize all the things that I wanted to do in my life because of this. And I wasn't even feeling productive in work because, again, like I said, I have ADHD and I was just struggling in an office culture. And then they announced that they might go back to 4 days strict RTO. And keep in mind, when I say strict RTO, there was no exceptions there. If you, let's say on Monday, your pet has an emergency and you have to take it to the vet and you're not going to be in the office, you have to take PTO. There wasn't oh, you know what, you're sick today or your pet's sick or whatever, you can work from home today. There was no exceptions. You had to take PTO, but you only get a certain amount of allotted PTO a year. And it just sucked because things would come up in my life where I was shoot, I really need to work from home today for X reason. Let's say, the cat got sick or I wasn't feeling good or whatever, then I had to use my time off. But that time off was so precious to me to use for travel and going home and seeing my parents. I like to go home for a week plus at a time, in the summer to Oregon to see my family and spend time with them because I only get so much time with them a year. But I also really like to travel. And I just I hated the thought of using my PTO on a sick day because I couldn't work from home anymore, or because I really had to take my car into the shop that day. And so I just hated that I didn't have the flexibility anymore because I was so used to the flexibility. And it was damn, I want that back. When they announced that they may go 4 days back in office, strict RTO, that's when I was you know what? I love this job, but I think I need to look for something fully remote because that's what's going to be best for my lifestyle. And so as hard as it was, that was the day I started looking for fully remote jobs. I saw a job on LinkedIn that was for a senior TikTok strategist. And I was damn, that's perfect for me. I've been working at TikTok the last 2 years. At the marketing agency that I worked at, I dabbled a little bit in TikTok ads. And then I also, at the time, was an aspiring content creator on TikTok. So I was this seems like the perfect job for me. And I had learned so much about the platform in all different aspects, from content creation to advertising to branding to brand development to account management, everything. I feel like I know so much about this platform. So it's this job is perfect. I think I'm qualified. And it was at a marketing agency, and a much bigger marketing agency than the first one that I worked at. And I was hesitant about going back to agency life because anyone who's worked at an agency knows they can be chaotic and stressful, and it can be hard to have a work-life balance. But at the same time, I was like, this is remote, and I think this is what I need. I think this is the next step for me. So I apply for that job and I get an interview. And guys, this interview process was crazy. The first thing was like, I had to make a video of myself answering all these questions and submit it. And then I had an interview, and then I had to do a project, and then I had another interview, and then I had to do a worksheet, and then I had another interview. Like, it was months of interviewing. So I was still working at TikTok. I was interviewing. At this point, like I said, like when I get an idea to do something, it's like I have to do it. So like I was kind of 1 foot out, knowing I think I was going to leave. So I had some time to kind of mourn that job. But in a way, I was also like, I think this is going to be good for Rafa and I not to work together anymore, because it's just a weird dynamic when you work together and are in a relationship. And I think we'll probably talk about that when he's on. But I say that because like you will get off of work and then you'll just start talking about work and you'll start complaining about work. And it's like we could dig ourselves in like negative holes. And there just felt like there was a negative dark cloud over us some days because we were just talking about work. And now I feel like our relationship is so much better because at the end of the day, I get to like be like, what did you do today? Tell me. And like, I don't know. There's not that negativity of like, we're just digging ourselves in holes because we can just talk about work and complain about things. So in a way, I was kind of excited to leave because I was like, this is going to be good for my relationship. And our relationship had grown so much by this point, and I was really serious about it. So I really saw a future with this guy. So I was like, I think it'll be best if we don't work together anymore, if, you know, we want to have a strong future together. I get the job at this marketing agency, and I am a senior TikTok strategist. I tell TikTok, I leave the company, of course, on good terms. I miss my manager so much. Jenna, if you're listening to this, I miss you, and you were the best manager ever. She seriously was. And I start my new job at this agency. During this time that I'm onboarding to this new job, anyone who's onboarded to a company probably has experienced something similar, but like you have a good amount of downtime when you're onboarding because it's just a lot of like reading and worksheets and, you know, joining Zoom meetings, and you're just doing a lot of like learning at the time when you first start a new role. And a lot of the time you have a good amount of downtime. And my manager said to me, she was like, enjoy your downtime because you're not always going to have it, but like do your onboarding tasks. If you finish them, literally just enjoy your downtime because trust me, it's not always going to be there. So during these weeks that I'm onboarding, I have a good amount of downtime and I'm working from home full time. So I'm able to make a lot of content. I'm posting all the time. I'm creating a ton of content about work, and just in general, like my social media presence grew a lot during this phase between jobs at TikTok and my new job. Things were growing a lot, and I was starting to get my first brand deals with brands, which was crazy to me. My first brand deal was for $50 with a anti-chafing spray for running. And I was like, I cannot believe a brand is paying me money. Like, what is this? I was so new to all of it and I didn't know anything. So I was just so excited to be getting $50 to promote this anti-chafing spray. Obviously, I've learned a lot since then on like the type of brands that I want to work with and I will promote and stuff. I've learned a lot. Back then I was like, oh my God, I'll take anything I can get. Like, I think I did some pretty random brand deals at the time because I just didn't even know what I was doing. But yeah, I was starting to make a little bit of like money from social media. It was growing a lot. I was really taking it a lot more seriously. And at the same time, I'm prioritizing this new job and I'm really trying to learn a lot about it. And the company was great. The company culture was great. Everyone was really supportive. I liked working from home. Definitely a transition going back to working from home, but I liked it. I felt like I was able to prioritize both until I felt like I wasn't. And this is, a few months into the job, I'm really starting to ramp up and work with clients. And this job was a lot different than the role I had at TikTok because TikTok was more of like a consulting role where you're meeting with brands and you're kind of helping them with what to do and you're consulting and you're educating them on the platform. And it's not like a role where you're hands on keyboard doing things for the client in a sense of like setting up their campaigns and creating their creatives, their videos and things like that. It's more of like a consulting role, like high level. Here's your account. Here's how I think we can take it to the next level. Whereas this role at this new job was like hands on keyboard. I was given a certain amount of money to spend and I had to spend it and I had to figure out where to spend it, what types of videos we were going to run, who we were going to target. Like it was just a lot more hands-on and it was scary because this agency has very big brands on its roster. And I was working with like big brands, spending a lot of money, setting up ad campaigns. And it was just like, whoa, I was a nervous wreck. And once it actually like got to it and I was doing this job every single day, I was a nervous wreck, but I learned a ton. And I really took this time to learn the skills that I didn't feel like I got from TikTok and kind of mesh the two together. So I learned a lot about how, like, what it actually takes to execute these advertising campaigns, because that's actually what I was doing. And it was a different experience to work with such bigger brands than what I was working with at TikTok, because these were significantly larger than a lot of the accounts I worked with at TikTok. So I got to experience what it's like to work with more like medium to large size businesses versus just SMBs. So I really gained a lot of valuable experience during this. But keep in mind, during this time, again, social media has grown a lot. I'm starting to work with brands. I'm starting to make some money on social media. I'm really starting to love what I'm doing on social media and take it a lot more seriously. And I feel like I'm fostering and building this little community of people, and I'm having so much fun. And it gets to a point where I'm working all day, and as soon as work ends, I'm on my phone and I'm filming and I'm editing and I'm creating. And then all of a sudden, literally from the moment that I wake up to the moment that I go to bed, I'm on a screen, whether it's my laptop or my phone or whatever. I am working all day at work, and then all day I'm creating content and editing. And by the end of the day, I was fried. My brain felt like someone took it and wrung it out and then threw it in a dumpster. Like, it was a really low point. It was an exciting and happy point because I loved what I was doing and I was motivated, but like, I was mentally not well because I was spending so much of my time on screens, and screen time is just so bad for you. Like, it is not good for the human brain to wake up and be on a screen from 9 a.m. to 10:30, 11 p.m. Like, it was bad. And during this time, I'm like, damn, well, I really want to commit more of myself to social media. I want to make a YouTube channel. I want to keep creating content for you guys. I'm getting asks to do more vlogs and more this and share that, but I can't because I'm really buried in this new job and I'm taking on new clients. I'm stressed out. And I was just like, how can I do both of these in a healthy way? Like, how can I do social media and prioritize it and get to share fun content with you guys, but still have a job? And I do still care about my career. I didn't just go to college for 4 years and do all these internships and work all these different jobs to just throw away my career completely. So I'm just like, how can I do this? Like, what is the way that I can do this? Because the way I'm doing it right now is not working. And I started to get this little idea in the back of my head. And a lot of it is from being friends with people in Austin who also do this. And that helped me gain the confidence and motivation to kind of act on this idea. But I start to get this idea one morning when I log on to work, and I'm like, you know what? All this stuff that I'm doing for these brands at work, I think that I could do on my own. And this little idea sits in my head, and then I'm like, and I start thinking on it for days and days and weeks. And I start talking with some of my friends who work more independently for brands. Like, they don't work at a corporate job. They have a skill set. Let's say it's social media management, and they do it independently for brands. It's called freelancing or independent contracting. And I get this idea and I'm like, I think I could do that. I worked at TikTok. I learned so much there. I've been learning so much at this agency about how to actually execute on all of these things. I think that I could probably do this on my own. I mean, I'm doing this job every day on my own for the most part, so I don't see why I can't do it independently. And so this idea starts to eat at me, and I start to think, you know what, maybe if I do this and I start independently contracting for brands, I'll be able to better manage my time. I'll be able to still care and prioritize my social media and make content and make fun content for you guys and start my YouTube channel, maybe start a podcast, but I'll also still be working and have a job and be doing essentially what I'm doing now. But, you know, I can take on less clients. I can take on less work. I can manage my time the way I want to manage my time, etc. If I have to travel for something work related, whether it's like social media related, or I want to go see my family or whatever it is, I can do that. Obviously, it is a little intimidating because you have to be very good at time management to do this type of thing. But I was like, I think I can do it. I feel like in the corporate world, there's kind of two things that you can do, and both are very valuable. But in my head, I never graduated college and saw myself climbing the corporate ladder forever and someday being the, you know, director of whatever the hell at X company. I was like, I'm going to go work for companies. I want to work for a handful of different companies to get a ton of different experiences. And I want to take whatever skills I learn and I want to do my own thing. And that was always my plan. Did I plan to do it at 25 years old? No, I probably planned to do it a few years later. However, I felt ready at this time to do this, even though it was probably earlier than I expected. And then the other route with corporate America, of course, is to climb the ladder and to do that. And there's people that want to do that. And that I commend to everyone who wants to do that, because that is hard fucking work. and you have to be dedicated and driven, and there can be some really hard days. So I feel like those are kind of the two routes people usually take with corporate America. Of course, it's either you learn as much as you can and leave and do your own thing, or you climb the corporate ladder. For me, I knew one day I wanted to leave and do my own thing. Just didn't know that day was going to be so soon. However, I did feel like I had built a lot of different skills between working at TikTok and the agency, and then the small agency, and then Oracle. Like, I felt ready, but I felt scared. And there was so much self-doubt and fear and crying. And like, I was just so scared. I was like, if I leave this job, like, this is so crazy that I'm going to just go off and do my own thing. Like, I don't know what I'm doing. But luckily I have an amazing support system of people here in Austin, between my boyfriend, my family, who really shocked me. They supported me so much when I decided to make this decision. Like, it shocked me because my parents have always been like, corporate job, corporate job, corporate job. What are you doing? Like, they loved when I worked at Oracle. Like, but when I explained to them what I wanted to do, they were like, we think you should do it. And that was like, wow, like that really pushed me to actually go ahead and do this. I have amazing friends that supported me. And then I have a handful of friends who also freelance and do independent work in contracting that really helped me learn about it and how to go about it. Like my friend Eleanor, who's a photographer and also owns an agency. My friend Jade, who does independent freelance work for like social media management. So I talked to them. I learned a lot about kind of what steps I needed to take to do this. And I made the decision, and I told my manager that I was leaving. I obviously didn't say I was leaving to go independently do this kind of work. I said I used some different reasons as to why I was leaving, which I won't get into now. But obviously I wasn't like, hey, I'm leaving to go do this by myself. But I did leave that job a few months ago now. I have not been working my 9 to 5 for a few months now. And I know you guys were all wondering that. And so now you know. And in this time between now that I'm sitting here and leaving the corporate job, I have been figuring out exactly how I'm going to go about doing this by myself. And I decided to make my own little agency of sorts. I mean, it's just me, but like I'm branding it as a little agency. It's called Social Snitch. Social Snitch. I named it Social Snitch because I was like, I don't know. I just think that's like fun and cute and playful and like silly. Like, I don't know. Like snitch means like you're tattling and you're gossiping, and like I'm the social snitch. Like think of like Gossip Girl. There's Gossip Girl. Well, I'm the social snitch. I'm snitching on all the social skills. Well, not social, like social media skills that you need to grow your brand on TikTok. It is a TikTok agency, but I want you to know that it's completely separate from me as a creator. So like take me as a creator out of the Social Snitch. The Social Snitch is like the back end of everything that goes into TikTok. So like brand development, advertising campaigns, TikTok Shop, which I know I always joke and shit on TikTok Shop because as a creator, it bothers me, and as a user, it bothers me. But if you're a brand on TikTok, TikTok Shop is an amazing feature where you can make so much money as a brand. So I understand TikTok Shop from the brand perspective, and that's something I've been helping brands with, like getting onboarded to TikTok Shop and getting their products synced and how to use it. And so it's all of those kind of things within TikTok, like targeting audiences, community management, things like that. It's separate from me as a creator. The Social Snitch is not me creating content for brands. I just want to make that clear. Me creating content for brands is through me as a creator, and that goes through my agency that I am signed with. I'm signed with a talent agency out of LA called the Digital Department, and anything with me creating content for brands goes through that. And that is me as a creator. The Social Snitch is me as a TikTok strategist, and it's working with brands that already have creatives or need direction with where to take their creatives. And when I say creatives, I mean like their videos. And I'm actually helping them run those advertising campaigns and execute on that and tell them how much budget that they should be spending and how to get them onboarded to TikTok Shop and how to manage their community on TikTok. And let's say like doing competitor analysis and things like that. So I just want you guys to know when I say it's like a TikTok agency, it doesn't have to do with me creating content as a content creator. It is everything else that goes into the platform outside of me making content for brands. That goes through me as a creator, if that makes sense. Which I know this probably is very confusing because you're like, Taryn, what? You have a TikTok agency, so you're just making videos for brands? No, I'm not making videos for brands at all through the Social Snitch because I can't. Those go through my agency as a content creator. The Social Snitch is completely separate. It is the education and the high level side of TikTok and the consulting side of TikTok and the brand development side of TikTok and the more like analytical advertising side of TikTok, like doing reporting and showing ROI and how to set up their pixel. Like it's the boring shit that is not as entertaining, trust me, but it's something that I know. And that's why I want to do it independently because it's everything that I know and everything I've been learning for the last 3 years. And while I could be doing it at a big agency or at a company for brands, I would rather just do it for myself. Like respectfully, I would just rather do it for myself. And if anyone has a problem with me leaving my corporate job and leaving my 9 to 5 to do something by myself based off of skill sets that I've worked really hard to gain and a degree that I worked hard to get, and then skills that I built in so many different jobs, that sounds like a you problem, respectfully, because this is exactly what I wanted for myself. It was to work in corporate America and gain skills to then hopefully one day leave and do my own thing. Now, is this agency and this little freelance thing that I'm doing my end game? No. I want to make that clear. This is not like my dream career. Of course, someday I would love to have a brand, something that's mine that is a brand. Of course, someday, but that's someday is not now, and I don't even know when and if that'll ever happen. But I see this as just my next step in my career, working with brands independently and figuring it out for myself. But I do want to make it clear that this is not like a business that I'm trying to sell you guys. I'm not trying to pitch you guys this business. This is just what I'm doing. I'm reaching out to brands independently and seeing if they want to work with me. I'm essentially cold calling like I did at Oracle and being like, hey, I'm Taryn and now I'm doing this independently. So let me know if you're interested. So yeah, this is not a business that I'm trying to sell to my followers or anything like that. This was what I needed to do to be able to prioritize both social media, because I care about that so much, and be able to pursue things like a podcast and my YouTube and things like that, but also still have a job with stability and still work every day, because I am not in a place right now where I can just like wake up and have social media be my full-time thing, because that just gives me anxiety. It truly gives me anxiety. Social media is so unpredictable, and I just know I would be an anxious mess if every day I woke up and was like, okay, what videos am I going to film today? And what am I going to talk about? And hopefully the algorithm likes me today. Like, I just can't do that right now. I'm not saying I never could, but like, it just gives me too much anxiety right now to do that. And so as much fun as social media is too, I think that if I do it completely full time, it'll take the fun out of it. Just like how I said, being nervous about the podcast took the fun out of it. I think if I do social media completely full time, it'll take the fun out of it. And I'll have to take it too seriously. And then I won't be creating content that's authentic for you guys that you like. So again, this was what I think was the best option for me, was to just do it independently. So I'm starting to work with my few first brands and freelance for them and contract for them. And I've been figuring out how I'm going to price things, and am I going to do hourly, or am I going to be project based, and what are my offerings? And I've been mapping all of that out. I have a website built. Lovely Blackhawk Digital Marketing here in Austin, Texas, helped me build my website. So shout out to them. They're an amazing team. My best friend works there, and she helped me facilitate getting everything set up. So shout out to Blackhawk Digital Marketing. They built me a beautiful website that I have not yet shared at all, because again, I wanted to announce this on the podcast. So I'll probably share it on my LinkedIn or something shortly after this podcast episode releases. But I do have a website that I'm sending now to brands and being like, hey, you want to work with me? And I'm starting to work with my first few brands. And I really don't want to take on too much, because I know that I'll just be back in a place where I'm really, really, really stressed out like I was at my last job. So I'm trying to be really strategic about the types of brands that I work with. And I want to make sure they're brands that I am aligned with on values, and that they're brands that I feel comfortable working with. Like, for example, I feel really comfortable working with like a boutique or like a small fashion brand, because I feel like I can really understand that. And I know how successful marketing works on TikTok for brands like that. But I don't feel comfortable with, like, let's say, a law firm. Like, that's where I would struggle more. Like, a law firm comes to me, like I wouldn't feel as confident in, helping them. So I'm really trying to be strategic about the types of brands that I'm working with, but I'm having a lot of fun. And I feel like I'm still waking up every day and getting on my computer and working like I am in a 9 to 5. It's just different because I am managing my own time and doing it for myself, which can be difficult. Definitely has its ups and downs. Time management is definitely something I'll need to talk about more on this podcast, because I have learned a lot with time management. It was really rough at first, but I feel like I'm finally getting to a good place with it. And so, yeah, guys, that is what I'm doing. I am now the social snitch. No, but I'm really keeping this freelance thing kind of low key. It's not like supposed to be some big business venture and I started a brand. No, it's me independently contracting and doing everything that I was doing at my 9 to 5, just independently for myself, so that I can go see my family and travel when I need to. And I can do social media things when I want to, but I can also work. Like, it's the only way that I can prioritize everything I want to do in my life and do it, because it was not healthy what I was doing working my 9 to 5 with everything else going on. And I feel really happy that my mental health is in a better place. I mean, it definitely has its ups and downs, but I was really mentally unwell there for a few months, and it even took a toll on my relationship. And Rafa's like, dude, this isn't good for us. Like, you got to figure it out. Like, what do you want to do? And it just, yeah, I felt really lost, and now I don't feel lost anymore. And I'm really happy about that. And I'm proud of myself for taking risks and taking chances, because this was a huge, huge, huge risk, in my opinion, for me. And I really had to rely on myself to do it because it was scary. It was scary. And like, I had to know that when I woke up the next morning after leaving my job, that it was all up to me to make this happen. And it was a very frightening feeling, but I knew that I could do it. And I really put a lot of trust in myself, and I did do it. I have a website. I'm starting to work with brands. I'm building out all my services, and I'm consulting with brands, and I'm doing it. I'm doing the damn thing. And alongside that, I'm able to start my podcast, and I'm able to edit my own YouTube videos and post them. And I'm able to edit my own TikToks and post them and share my life with you guys. So I just feel like I get to have the best of both worlds. And sometimes it feels too good to be true. And there are definitely days that I'm like, holy shit, I'm so fucking stressed out right now. I have so many things to do. I'm dying. But right now I'm figuring out how to manage both of them so that I can continue to share my life with y'all and have this fun little flirty, cute little fun little shooting the shit podcast and my YouTube and everything, but still maintain the career that I worked pretty hard for. But like I said, I don't know if that's going to be my long-term thing. I don't think it will be. Knowing me, I tend to get like a little bit burnt out and bored of things after a while, and I like to switch it up and do something else. So maybe I will do that next year or in 2 years or 3 years, who knows? But for right now, I'm very content with what's going on with my life, and I hope you guys are too. And like I said, if anyone's upset that I left my 9 to 5, get a grip, because I'm literally just doing something to better myself and better my mental health and still be able to make content like I was for you guys, but also still have a job, my job in a sense. I'm very proud of myself for building these skills over the last few years and figuring out how to apply them to my life to work for myself in a sense now. That's my career update, guys. Boom, bada bing, bada boom. I hope that was entertaining. And now hopefully your questions are finally answered about what I'm up to. I'll have to dive into the whole world of social media and all of that stuff and creating content and working with brands on another episode, because we're already getting this episode a little long here. But I do also work with brands on the content creation side of things and on the social media side of things in like brand partnerships and stuff. So that's another thing that I do alongside what I'm doing with freelancing. And that's also very fun. And that has been a big learning curve from last year to now. I think I got my first brand deal last year, and now I'm working with more brands this year. And I've learned a lot about the type of brands that I want to work with and don't want to work with. Like when I first started social media, I'd work with any brand, like I said, because I just couldn't believe that a brand would pay me $100 to make them a video. But now that I've built a community of people that I genuinely care about, I'm much more strategic about the types of brands that I will promote and how I talk about the brands and what I will say in videos with brands, because I care about the people that are watching them. Whereas a year ago, like I didn't feel like I really had a community. Again, it was all very small for me on TikTok. It wasn't like something that I took seriously because I didn't really have like that kind of community engagement that I have now, or people that like cared about my content per se. Whereas now I do feel like I have this little community of people that now I care so much about, because I feel like I've just been trying to build and foster this community and engage with y'all. To kind of finish us off here, I hope this gave y'all some clarity. And if y'all ever want to chat about stuff like this, about transitioning out of your corporate job to freelance, or about how I went about doing this in depth a little bit more, let me know, DM me. I'm happy to answer more questions about it. And please DM me what you want me to talk more about on this podcast, because I would love to know your thoughts on what you think I should talk about and topics that we should cover, or guests that you want me to have on, or whatever it might be, because I'm just so down to jump into this and do whatever the fuck. Because my brain is always 100 miles an hour all over the place, and we're just going to cover every little corner of it and talk about whatever the hell we want to talk about. And if there's something interesting going on in pop culture, we're going to fucking talk about it. So yeah, DM me the kind of shit that you think I should talk about, because I think it'll be really fun to just like different topic every week. I think I'm definitely going to do some stuff on like moving and that transition and how that was for me, and advice I have when it comes to like starting over in a new city and making friends. And we're going to do stuff on relationships, and I think it'll be fun. But this is not a relationship podcast. I just want to preface with that. It's not a relationship podcast, but we will dabble in the relationships place. This is just chatting. That's all it is. we definitely will have to talk more about social media too. And I really want to talk about like social media in a relationship because it's been an interesting dynamic, our relationship going from me not doing social media at all. Cause when we first met, I was not doing it at all, like posting at all. I think I'd post like one TikTok every 2 months to now obviously like not so much of what we do, but a big chunk of what we do is social media. I mean, we don't sit down and be like, we're going to film a video, but like, we do post a lot of videos together and make content together. And when we're on trips together, we're filming for YouTube and stuff like that. And it's definitely been an interesting transition that I think we should talk about more. But for today, guys, that's the update I wanted to give you and talk, about just how I got here. And I'm really happy to now be able to do this podcast and dedicate some time to it every week because I made this big shift in my life with my career. But I'm glad that I'm still developing these skills that I've been focused on for a few years now, and I'm growing them and I'm learning every single day and I'm taking risks because what is life about if you don't take a risk and try something new? For real. I mean, this year I've realized, like I woke up and realized like I can literally do whatever I want within reason, but like I can do whatever I want if I want to. And if that's starting a podcast, I'm going to do it. If that's freelancing, I'm going to do it. If I want to work with this dream brand, I'm going to try to do it. The only thing stopping you from doing what you want to do is yourself. I know that's corny and everyone's heard that, but it's you not wanting to do it. It's not that you can't, it's just you not wanting to do it. And I've learned that this year and I'm like, bitch, fucking do it. Just do it. Guys, I'm from Oregon. Nike was like my life. And it's weird. I moved to Austin. I say just do it because it's like the Nike slogan. But I moved to Austin and then Nike was so not as much of a thing here. Like everyone's wearing Hokas and Outdoor Voices and Lululemon. And I'm like, what? Like in Oregon, nobody's stepping, like everyone wears Nike. Everyone has on Nike shoes. Like if you're wearing workout clothes, most of the time they're Nike. Like it was just so weird. I moved here and like, I didn't see hardly as much Nike. That was just like a really random thought and like tangent. Again, I have fucking ADHD, so get ready. And I did not medicate today. Ooh, definitely need to make an episode about ADHD medication because that shit takes away your sparkle, guys. But that's for another episode. Anyways, I'm going to wrap this bitch up. I just want to say thank you guys so much for listening to the very first episode of Tearing It Up. I feel so much better about this episode than the first one. And it just really taught me today to just have fun with it. Have fun with your life, have fun with the shit you do, and don't take yourself too seriously because that's exactly what I did on the first recording and I learned a lot from it. Try things and make mistakes. That's another learning lesson. Try shit and make mistakes because you're going to learn from it. And the second time or third time or fourth time, it's going to be better. Anyways, if you guys followed me over to Spotify from any of my social channels, I love you. I appreciate you. Thank you for coming over and listening to me. I'm really excited to kick off this podcast and talk about a bunch of shit with you guys and just shoot the shit and be friends. I'll see you guys maybe next week, maybe bi-weekly. I'll see you when I see you. Like I said, I'm not going to be crazy and be like, I'm releasing an episode every single Monday. I'm just going to release when I feel like releasing because that's what life's about. Just relax. I've learned a lot to just take a fucking chill pill. All right. Well, I got to go home and get ready for my mom to arrive tonight. Where I'm so excited to see her. And we're going to go to the spa and get massages and facials. And I'm going to treat her all weekend because she deserves it. That's on my agenda for the rest of the day. And then of course I need to go home and do some brand work for some clients. But I hope you guys had fun listening. I had fun. I wish you were sitting across from me right now in this room so we could be chatting face to face, but unfortunately we can't, but maybe someday. I don't know. Who knows? Maybe I'll do a little event. We can all meet something. I don't know. I do a little run club every first Saturday of the month and it's been so fun meeting some of you guys there. It's with Free People Movement. It's every first Saturday of the month. And I've gotten to meet a handful of you guys and it's been a blast, but I would like to do something more versatile, like in person where we're not maybe running because not everyone's a runner and we can hang out and chit chat. Oh my God, I'm getting off topic again. Okay, I need to end this. Bye, y'all. I'll see you on the next episode, which will probably either be a Q&A or with Rafa. We'll see. I don't fucking know. Love y'all. Thanks for listening. And I hope you enjoyed this episode of Tearing It Up with me, your host, Taryn Lamb, ASMR. One big forehead kiss to you. One big cheek kiss to you. And adios. Hasta luego. Ciao. Buenas tardes. Bye. I'll see you on the next episode of Tearing It Up with Taryn Lamb.